rhythm of fishing is pretty powerful. Fishermen, we're kind of the same as salmon. We keep returning here every summer.
So what we do is called set netting, and we basically are allowed to fish 50 fathoms, 300 feet. We just tie those to the running lines that are secured by screw anchors. It's just a gill net, so they'll be swimming in and just getting stuck on their gills, and that's how we catch our fish.
We pull it to the net with our boat and use a hydraulic roller to move along the net and pick the fish out by hand.
Our crews fish in close proximity to each other with our larger tender vessels off the end of our nets about a couple hundred yards.
Every 2 hours we deliver the fish to our tender and so that it can be transported to the processing facility.
So when it comes to freshness, it's really as good as it gets.
Something that's unique about the Bristol Bay salmon fishery is that it's a terminal fishery, and what that means is all the fish are going to be harvested on their way to the end of their life. So the fish are harvested in the oceans and bays before they get into the spawning grounds. The biologists can then observe the amount of fish getting into the spawning grounds to make sure that there's always going to be sufficient fish so that eggs can be laid and future generations of fish can come back. Our family's been fishing in Bristol Bay since the mid-1940s. My grandfather and grandmother homesteaded at Lake Iliamna, which is kind of north of us just a little bit. All of the salmon that we're trying to harvest are born in that lake, Lake Iliamna. And our families met fishing here on the beach at Graveyard Point back when it was an operational cannery.
This used to be a functioning processing facility that burned down in the 60s. Now all the fishermen who fish in this geographic area come back to this location every year and use the old burned or abandoned buildings as their summer camp. You claim your spot with a Sharpie marker and everybody knows that, this is where the 10 clays live and that's where, so-and-so lives, but, and nobody takes it, nobody touches it, and we all come back and set up shop in these buildings and try and take care of them.
We've seen a lot of things change in terms of there's erosion and, different things have impacted the physical landscape, but a lot of things have stayed the same, which is harvesting the fish in small boats by hand with your own family.
My mom was pregnant with me, and so that was my first experience here. I grew up with my 6 brothers fishing, and I've always loved it. It's just been part of our family heritage. My husband fished about 600 feet down the beach from me, although we never talked until I was about 24, and I had a bear break in through my window, and he helped me fix it, and so that's where we finally started our relationship. I love that our children get to grow up with a similar lifestyle and childhood that my husband and I both got to experience. It's really special for both of us. Bristol Bay is my home. It's where I grew up. It's part of who I am. I love that I can share that with my children, to be able to teach them how to fish and how to feed our friends and our family and all those other people that love salmon.
I began fishing for a crew when I was 13 years old. But as you get older, you have the opportunity to involve your friends. And so when I was a teenager and in my 20s, I started to bring my friends to come work with me or work alongside me on other crews. And that really sparked a love of fishing in their lives.
I grew up in Colorado, was landlocked. I always dreamed of being on a boat, being out at sea, but I didn't know what that experience was like. I was, 19, 20. I loved it. I never thought it would be something that would be sort of a career. And now here I am, almost 25 years in.
I've been fishing up here, let me see here, almost 2 decades. I fished with the 10 clays for the first 15 of those years as a crewman, and I think I fished on every single one of their boats.
Here it's kind of a love-hate relationship. Fishing's hard.
Just grueling on the body and, lack of sleep, but the excitement of catching the fish.
I always joke about this, like the phrase, we're all in the same boat. Like, we are all in the same boat in the sense that you're not gonna sleep in when someone else is fishing. We all gotta get up and fish, and so it makes it easier. Part of that Iliamna Fish Co. family of fishing. We have opportunities to eat meals together, and there's a lot of laughter. There's a lot of sore muscle, a lot of tired moments. But I think that's all part of it, and I think that's part of what makes the experience special.
It's the family aspect of it. It's kind of a reset from the outside world, just in the middle of nowhere in Alaska.
Through being part of that family, I just had that desire to bring my family up. This year, for the first time, I got to bring the whole family up. It was incredible.
Around the time all of us were in college, those were some pretty difficult years for the wild salmon market here in Bristol Bay in terms of the wholesale prices for fishermen. And we were hopeful and thoughtful at that point that we might be able to continue the family tradition. Also, if we ever did have kids, we didn't know if we would at that point, but there'd be something to pass on. Maybe we thought would be the best way to approach that would be begin directly selling the fish that we caught ourselves instead of relying exclusively on kind of secondary wholesale markets.
For me, a big impetus in starting Iliamna Fish Company was to create an opportunity where people who love to eat wild salmon could have access to this great resource we have here in Alaska. Through our Salmon Share program, we've expanded the group of committed individuals who care about the resource.
I think when you bring Bristol Bay wild sockeye into your kitchen, onto your table, you're supporting the fishery, you're supporting the fishermen, you're supporting the kind of sustainability of the region itself.
I think that's something that's different than just picking it up at a store. There's something about getting to have a relationship with fishermen and the fishermen that are out there working hard. And as a fisherman, I love to have that relationship with somebody who's going to eat my fish.
And it's amazing to be part of this community that's bringing the highest quality of this special fish to the market. Just the way we care for it and the way we tender it.
It's part of our heritage, my heritage, and so it's fun to continue on with that tradition. And fishing alongside with my sister and brother and some of our really good friends, it's just become a kind of an annual tradition.
I do love bobbing around on the wide gray seas and staring out the bright green tundra. And I like the black nights and I like the bright days. It's the world's largest, healthiest wild salmon run that remains.